Rooskaya protocols are in effect, with Black Widow taking center stage. Let's look at the latest update from Marvel's Avengers. So Marvel's Avengers' latest update is an interesting one. We have a lot to talk about. First of all, let's talk about the cosmetics of the update. First up is the Red Room skins. These are nothing too special, to be honest with you. They're themed skins, obviously, but they're essentially recolors of previous skins or kind of a rehash of previous skins. I think they could have done with a little bit more tweaking, a few extra bits added or taken away to kind of, make them different, make them stand out. I think the one that kind of does this the best out of the lot is Captain America's. He has black paint across his face in this skin, and it looks different enough to where, it feels almost like a dark version of Cap, which is kind of fun. It's really fun to play with those kind of like dark versions of characters. But really speaking, they're not priced particularly badly. If you want them, they're there. They're essentially red skins of other skins that we've got. So that's probably something that people want and something that people probably enjoy. So, not too much to discuss there, really. The big skin of this patch, the one that has kind of divided a lot of people, is the Endgame Widow skin. I personally really enjoy this skin. I think it really sells the MCU fantasy without kind of taking you out of the game's continuity at the same time. It's inspired, and I think that's the main thing to remember here, right? It's not the same as. And so the fact that the hair is the same has been a sticking point for a lot of people. I might have chosen a different hairstyle from within the game's roster of hairstyles, but I don't think it's make or break for me, to be honest with you. Now, a really big change that is kind of a really good drive going forward with cosmetics in the game is that the cosmetic store has been expanded. Up to this point, we'd have one tab per hero in terms of the store. Now each hero seems to have about 4. Hawkeye has 3 just because he hasn't had as many skins released into the game as yet. It's really nice to have a more complete set of skins available to all characters at all times. It means that you're not constantly thinking that a skin is 100% exclusive. It's not going to come around again. Some skins will probably be that way, but not all of them, and you get to see that more readily, more clearly now. That's kind of really the big cosmetic things as far as I've seen this patch, but it is a relatively small patch. It's the first patch as well of a 2-part kind of event, so there might be more surprises coming next week, who knows. But let's now move into the story of the Rooskaya protocols update. The thing is, as you guys know, I'm a very big stickler for storytelling. If you saw my Tachyon Anomaly video, you'll know that I kind of wanted a bit more storytelling in terms of how that was brought into the game. The same thing happens here, really. The Red Room has like an implied story, or rather like kind of an external explained story. What I mean by that is really all we know about the story itself is displayed in the blog from Crystal Dynamics, which says a virus has infected several AM synthoids. Its origin is unknown and untraceable, but the name Rooskaya Protocols is embedded in the data, indicating a potential connection to Black Widow's past. That's all we have story-wise. If we don't have even a limited amount of storytelling to kind of set these events up, they're sort of kind of less interesting, to me at least. If we had a small introduction cutscene or like one quest that is meant to be part of this event, or even some voiceovers within older missions, that would be really fun and a really good way to kind of sell these events to people who are, really speaking, playing Marvel's Avengers for the kind of expanded lengthy storytelling process. At the same time, this is the first and kind of precursor event to the main event, the Red Room Takeover. So maybe we'll see something like that next, and this is just like a kind of gameplay, kind of, to bring people back into the game before they kind of release something more concrete. So really, yeah, that's the story of the patch. Sadly, there's nothing to go off as yet. This is something I'm going to keep talking about because, these events, however freak they might end up being, I do want them to have some kind of consequence in the overall narrative, even if it's, a small consequence. A drop in the water is still a drop in the water. Gameplay wise, this patch is 60-40, generally erring on the side of positive, though I think there was some room for improvement. This is a really cool way of giving objectives to players and kind of incentivize teaming up. If you don't necessarily like playing Black Widow, you can find someone else who plays Widow and play with them. Also, it's really compelling in terms of the rewards. The rewards can kind of help you bring a character up who you've neglected, or maybe even help you hoard for when Black Panther launches. The one thing that is an issue here is that it doesn't help matchmaking. A lot of people will pick Widow knowing that they will definitely get the rewards if they pick Widow. The idea that you wouldn't be able to advance some of the quests if you didn't have Widow in the party is a bad one, in my opinion, because it essentially ensures that people are playing alone as Widow rather than in group settings. In a lot of cases, I imagine. You know, if this was being run alongside the Tachyon Anomaly event, for example, there'd be no issue with that, having kind of this character, you need to have this character for this thing. Or there was a way to do that full-time where you could do a Tachyon mission or some other kind of mission and kind of have multiple Widows, and that would be fine. But in the current state of the game, without the Tachyon Anomaly event, you kind of have a situation where there's potential for issues in terms of matchmaking. Obviously, I don't know if that's actually the case. It's just something that kind of came to mind when I was thinking about the patch over the day since it's released. You know, my other things are kind of nitpicky, but I do think they would help just kind of give some more life to the event. First of all, I think the lack of visible change in the aimbots, as far as I could see, was disappointing. Yelena has taken over these robots, these aimbots, and I felt like at least you could have given off kind of some kind of red aura or some kind of red effect to kind of symbolize that to the player, like something to go after, something to kind of feel like, oh wow, it's a unique enemy. It might not actually be unique compared to a normal aimbot, but you know that it's going to kind of advance the event in some way. I also would have liked harder encounters, maybe like kind of like a wave of aimbots, similar to something you might find in, you know, like a custom harm room. Just kind of give a sense of like a different way of playing during this Rooskaya Protocols event. Or, you know, even just harder versions of aimbots. Maybe they have extra health, maybe their attacks hit harder, you know. We have modifiers in the game. I don't know why they couldn't be given to specific mobs within a given mission. I also think, you know, aside from the nameplates you get from completing objectives at the moment in the game, we should have gotten some cosmetics as skins. Now, obviously, we have had a lot of skins added this patch. I'm not saying we necessarily needed more skins. I'm saying I would have preferred if the Red Room skins went in a little bit of a different direction. I would have loved some kind of skins that were rewarded through gameplay, similar to how we have had with patterns in the past, where you get something like a Red Guardian-inspired skin for Captain America, a Yelena-inspired skin for Widow, you know, a Taskmaster skin for Hawkeye, kind of alluding to the fact that in the MCU, Taskmaster is kind of seemingly linked with the Red Room. The likelihood of us getting Red Guardian as a character within the game is infinitesimal, I would argue, over someone like Winter Soldier or something like that. So why not have a skin that's kind of based on that character or similar to that character? It doesn't have to be exactly the same. Just to give us some kind of, wow, you know, this has been thought about, this is kind of linking very much into the MCU, and that is the intent, right? This event is coming out around the time Black Widow was meant to come out before its most recent pushback, and I feel like, you know, you need to tie it more readily if you're going to do something like that, in my opinion. Overall, guys, this event was slightly less superficial than the last one. You know, there was an implied story at the very least. But I do think that we could have had, you know, a little bit of dialogue from Yelena Belova herself, or suggest this kind of like Widow being fretful of these bots and what it means for her in terms of her sister. You know, Tony and Widow had a conversation about Yelena, the name Yelena, back during the main game of the story, because Black Widow is using it as a code name. Maybe it's something to do with that. As yet, we haven't got any of that. Though I am willing to hold back on this one before dubbing it as disappointing, just because it's a different beast to Tachyon Anomaly. So I hope you guys are enjoying the Rooskaya Protocols. If you are, let me know what you think in the comments below. Otherwise, guys, please share, like, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.